How you doing, folks? So, right now, I would like to discuss a film. That film being a quite a gem, which people have forgotten about and no one talks about much anymore. But I could honestly say that it's a classic. Like one might say Gremlins or Goonies or Critters, Tremors. Um, a classic film from 2002, PG-13, which who gives a fuck about the ratings really, but that being Eight Legged Freaks with David Arquette is our lead role. Chris McCormick, who's working in the mines, and his father died, and he wants to sort of carry on his business in the mines, and he's good at it. You could tell, but this was always a film that it doesn't really get the recognition it deserves. I believe that's just my thought. I don't think this film it wasn't talked about enough. I don't even think it was loved really. I think that it was underappreciated, underrated. I feel like people pissed on it a little bit. It's a fun, campy, sci-fi, horror, comedy with everything in there that you want. All the little spices of comedy, horror, and just everything you want all in one package, literally. And I think that David Arquette is good as Chris McCormick, our sort of hero, if you want to call him hero. Um, of course, David Arquette, Dewey, who we all know and love. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Dewey. Rest in peace. Let that pay bad. And yeah, just eight-legged freaks. I'm going to, and this is controversial. I am going to simply call this a now it has a cult following, yes, but I'm going to call this a classic. That's right. I'm going to do that. You can get mad at me all you want in the comments. I don't care. A 48% on Rotten Tomatoes. A 5.5 out of 10 on IMDb. I mean, that's not bad. I mean, nobody's gonna win any Oscars. It's not about winning any Oscars. It's about, can you keep me entertained? That's the simple idea, that people forget about because they're trying so hard to impress you during a movie. So nobody was trying hard to impress me during this movie, and I had fun with it. And we got some nice creature effects and some practical effects in the beginning there. Our spiders are actually fucking real. We got real spiders in the beginning. Um, they looked good. In fact, I think the first half was much more of a horror film than the second. The first half was way more horror and showing the little spiders. It was far more scary than the big ones. It's like it's this horror film in the beginning, and then later on it builds up to this comedy, sort of like they're doing this sort of Tremors thing with it. I don't know what it is. I've always loved this film. I've obsessed with it ever since I was fucking 10 years old. I was like, Mom, can we go to Media Play and pick up Eight Legged Freaks, please? And Actually, she took me there at one point, and she said if I did good this day in school, we'll take you to eat a horror movie. That horror movie being Eight Legged Freaks, which I had a fun time with, was also kind of, this might sound silly, but kind of kid friendly. Because I didn't grow up with your typical shit when I was a kid, like Rugrats. Or I was not watching the Disney Channel that much. What I watched a lot was sci-fi. I watched a lot my dad introduced me to action films at a young age. One of the first action films he showed me was Predator, and Total Recall, Commando, all those films, Running Man, all those Arnold classics. He showed me a lot of those. But as a kid, I was just obsessed with horror. I was obsessed with anything weird or macabre, anything of the just different and just dark or just weird, sort of quirky, campy, sort of fun. That's what Eight Legged Freaks is. It's a fun film. I begged my parents to buy me the movie because before it was like they would rent me a copy and rent me a copy over and over. If I did good in school, it was they'd rent me a copy. I'd be sleeping on Saturday morning at 10 years old. My mother or father would come in and they'd throw a fucking Blockbuster case on my fucking bed. I'd wake up, my eyes were like, so what's that? It was a movie. I looked at it, it was Eight Legged Freaks. So it was the one I begged for. So because I was always into different shit. I like shit that was different and weird and quirky and fun. David Arquette plays a good lead. This girl, I know this girl. I know this girl. In fact, I got her name right here. Or Scarlett Johansson, which we all know. Carrie Wurr, who was also in Anaconda. Yeah, she was in Anaconda. She was in a number of other films. She was in Anaconda, and she was in. Sorry. This other guy, Doug E. Doug, who's our conspiracy theorist. He's a radio host. He's a radio host who is a conspiracy theorist who believes in aliens and extraterrestrials and things like that, and believes that the government is covering things up, which the motherfucker ain't wrong. So he's pretty accurate to today's standards, I'll tell you that. Scott Terra, Mike Parker, who's the son. I felt bad for this guy. I really felt bad for J. Arian Jones, who plays Leon. Leon is one of the mine workers for David Arquette, who worked in the caves. He worked in the cave system, and he does one of the dumbest fucking moves ever. He puts his mouth on the fucking hose and he sucks. He sucks from the fucking hose. To his mouth. He puts his mouth on that shit, which you don't know where the fuck that's been. I always felt bad for this guy, but you know what? In a way, he deserved it, because it's like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? He sucks it in, and a bunch of spiders come crawling out of his mouth. So, and you know what? We know what's funny is this was PG-13. When I was a kid, this was PG-13. Much like films like, let me see here, which is also hard to believe. Oh, okay, I'm wrong. I was going to compare it for a minute with Deep Blue Sea, but Deep Blue Sea is R. That's so funny because I remember when I was a kid, I went through Blockbuster. I went through Blockbuster fucking weekly, and I looked at the back of movie cases. I looked at movie cases. I looked at the covers. I loved the fucking covers. I was obsessed. But I remember I looked on the back of Deep Blue Sea and it was PG-13, and now I'm looking at it and it's R. So I find that kind of weird. Maybe they changed the rating along the way. I don't know what that's about. But yes, Deep Blue. Eight-Legged Freaks. Back on my topic. Is much of a classic film like Gremlins. It has a charm to it. The beginning half is more horror, with our tiny spiders slowly growing big and working their way up. Joshua, our spider farm owner, um, he dies. He falls. He gets bit by one of the tarantulas because they break out of the fucking cage. Tank, because he's not paying attention like a dumbass. And we all knew this was gonna happen. That's the point of the film. But what really sells this film for me, David Arquette, and just all of our actors. They do a good job. They're quirky. They're fun. They're camp. This film is the definition of fucking campy. This was a campy fucking film. And it's not trying to be scary. It isn't trying to be, oh, spiders, oh. It's funny. It's got humor in it. David Arquette's having a ball, which you could tell, as Chris McCormick, our mime worker, whose father passed away, and he wants to take over the business. And you could tell and I think there was something about his father finding a treasure or something like that. I don't remember, maybe my details off or something like that. I don't know. But I've always enjoyed this film. I would fall asleep to this film. I literally slept to Eight-Legged Freaks. Could you imagine being 10 years old and falling asleep to Eight-Legged Freaks? That's what I did. Because some water. It's fun. And it's like, how do I don't, it's just one of those films where you don't really have to think much. And there's giant spiders, and you like that. It's so unique. It's very sci-fi, and I just love sci-fi. Again, back to my recent video, sci-fi versus sci-fi topic, which definitely go and check out. They got some hits, definitely, which I can't understand why, but I was just telling it like it is. But yeah, sci-fi versus sci-fi, SCIFI, with a sort of universe in the title. If they would air things like Creature Features, and it was Sunday Night Creature Features, I believe, and it was like, okay, we had a Creature Feature night, and it was like 20 Million Miles to Earth, or the giant claw, and there'd be a giant spider film, or there'd be it came from beneath the sea, things like that. That's what this film reminds me of. It reminds me of things like that. It's quirky in its quirky nature and in its comedic nature. Um, it's not trying too hard to. It's not trying to impress anybody because it knows what it wants to be. The film knows what it wants to be. It's a fun gun shooting fucking giant tarantulas. It's fun as fuck, really. You watch it, you're just. It's like. It's like in a way, it's done in a way like a zombie flick. It's done in a way like a zombie flick. And in a mall, plus. It's in a mall. So, I don't want to say it's done like. It's not like completely. It's silly still, but it does kind of give off that sort of Dawn of the Dead vibe. You know, when they're in the mall and they're looking for places to get out, and they're shooting their guns, and they're fucking blowing the fucking creatures away. It's so cool. And as a kid, I just found that I found it more, and I've just it was more endearing to me when instead of blowing bad guys away, we had our hero blowing monsters away. It was just way more fun. Like one of my first action films, which I think I mentioned, was Predator. So, and he fights a monster, and he's our badass. Which I'm not gonna compare this to Predator, but it's a different type of thing, but it's in the same realm technically because you have people fighting monsters, and when there's people fighting monsters, it's fun. You don't know who's gonna live or die. Um, Primal Rage, another fun Bigfoot film. Abominable. Um, I have fun with it. Again, I think Roland Emmerich, Roland Emmerich, who did Independence Day and Patriot, he had something to do with this, didn't he? But what's funny is I'm reading it and I looked up some details here on the film because I wanted to be clear about it. Emmerich and Devlin then hired Ellery to write and direct Eight Legged Freaks, a $30 million feature film based on Larger Than Life, starring David Arquette and Scarlett Johansson, and distributed by Warner Brothers. So, now what I'm curious about is, did Roland Emmerich hire somebody to write this, or did he write this? It wasn't giving me a clear answer. It wasn't. Maybe you could just let me know down in the comments without getting snippy. Just let me know. Because I thought Roland Emmerich did this film. I really did. In fact, if I type in Roland Emmerich films, here's Roland Emmerich. Of course, Independence Day, which one? That's one that I love. I adore that film. The best part about Independence Day is later on when you got the fucking alien effects. Release me. I love it. I really do. Day After Tomorrow, Moonfall, 2012. Of course, Godzilla 1998 with Matthew Broderick. Stargate. He really? He did the first Stargate. I'm really impressed. Independence Day Resurgence, which I did not see, and probably for good reason. And of course, Patriot, White House Down. He did that one. Again, I like the Roland Emmerich achievements. I do. So, did he work on Eight Legged Freaks, or did he have somebody else write it for him? I was kind of confused about that. So, okay, I even typed in, did Roland Emmerich did Roland Emmerich write Eight Legged Freaks? I typed it in, literally the whole thing, the whole 9 yards. It's giving me other stuff, like weird stuff, like did Scarlett Johansson play in Eight Legged Freaks? Yeah, no, I don't want these little questions. I'm asking about the director. Come on, writer. He's a writer, right? I mean, he's definitely known for his science fiction and disaster films, but and this definitely falls under the category of science fiction. So it seems like something he'd do. Also, Tremors. Did he didn't do Tremors, did he? I doubt it. This is done in a way similar to Tremors, where I also feel like Tremors gets more love than this film. And this film has aged fairly well. Like, if you watch it, it's not too dumb. The acting is still good. We got a good musical score in the beginning. It's effective. It's a score that can be taken seriously, even though it becomes kind of comedic. So I don't I don't know what. Again, he. I'd like to say yes. This is Roland Emmerich because, first of all, we've got fun, campy characters like the sheriff, who he lost his cat, right? So he loses his cat, and his wife, kind of, you could tell she splits. And the sheriff girl from Anaconda calls him, and he's crying, right? And he's got a beer in his hand. He's on the couch, and she's like, "Are you okay? You sound really sad." And he's like, "Oh no, I'm okay. I just have an intolerance to dairy. I'm just a little mucusy." So that I I kind of I that was kind of funny. Or when their cat gets in the fucking hole in the wall and the cat's face is smashed into the wall. You can see the indents of the cat's face in the wall as well as the spider shape indented into the fucking wall as they're fighting each other, and it's kind of silly. It's like Pokemon. They're Pokemon fighting, and I know a lot of people are not big on animal deaths, but I feel like this film does it in a very comedic way, so it's okay. There's no blood. It's not gory or anything like that, which is why it's PG-13. Though I think that maybe they could have definitely did more with that. They could have raised that a little bit higher if they wanted to. Which I'm actually happy with the route they took, though. I'm happy. I'm happy with this film. I love Eight Legged Freaks. So this is me praising Eight Legged Freaks. I'm praising this film because it's fun, like Gremlins, like Tremors. A good, a monster flick. creature feature flick, which Sci-Fi was going to shit the minute this was made. So it was able to air on there for maybe a week or so before that. But um, definitely, I love this film. I absolutely love this film. I adore this film. Eight Legged Freaks is a fun fucking movie. You got your comedic conspiracy theorist. You have David Arquette, our our character who sort of moved away, but then came back, and his father died. His father died, then he moved away, then he came back and claimed his land. So I like this film. I don't I don't have many issues with it. I mean, I can't really think of anything that I could hate about it because it's so fun. When I was 10 years old, I would sit in my bedroom and I would just watch it. Just watch it. It was so fun. I was scared of spiders, but in a way, I liked it because it was a way that I could face my fears. And my mother knew that. My mother knew because my mother said, "You shouldn't be watching this. You should not be watching this." Because she knew that I had problems, sort of, mentally. When I tell her, like, "Mom, I'm just facing my fears. I know it's fake. It's not real. It's all computerized." So my mother meant well, but she also wanted to spoil me, so she would buy me these movies. Again, Blockbuster was so much fun to walk through. And this is where I first spotted the film was Blockbuster. Where they had was this fucking jam packed with fucking hallways of covers and discs and DVDs and laser discs and fucking everything, you name it. Just so much shit. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give this a fucking. You know what? No, I'm gonna go ahead and give this a fucking 10. I love this fucking masterpiece. I'm sorry. This is gonna be controversial. I give Eight Legged Freaks a fucking 10. Yes, sorry. You know why? Because I don't have to fucking think much about it. When I'm watching it, it's not like I'm watching the fucking Titanic. There's not much I have to think about. It's so fun. What are our characters doing? They're blowing away spiders with fucking shotguns. That's awesome. It's it's Dawn of the Dead with spiders. Except Dawn of the Dead is a much better film. So I'll even say, obviously, Zack Snyder, he's got a good head on his shoulders with his film directing and his writing. So, um, even though later on the animation is kind of wonky, I still feel like it's charming. While in the beginning it's more of a horror film because we see these small creatures slowly growing because they're being fed this they're growing slowly. Plus, and this idiot was giving him something he should not have been. And then there's this toxic waste, and it's just like, yeah, it was. Let's just say that this happened due to idiots. So, but yeah, I just have fun with the mall setting. Again, but like with Stranger Things, I like Stranger Things. I love the mall setting. There's a monster in the fucking mall. It's cool. It's 80s aesthetic. like with Dawn of the Dead. They did that and it worked. I love that setting. I love that setting. If you have a mall on your hands, use it. It's a great setting. Great. And what they did with that Mickey Mouse Trap movie with, I know that was done that was done in an arcade, and that was an even better setting. Too bad the film sucked. But yeah, there's my review on Eight Legged Freaks. That'll be a 10 for me, due to its charm and its characters and actors, and just very brings you back to the day, brings you back to the early 2000s, major big time. Brings you back to the Tremors era, really. Because when you watch this film, you do think of Tremors. Try to watch this and not think of Tremors. I dare you. So yeah, that'll be my review on Eight Legged Freaks. Thank you for watching. Um, Let me know your thoughts on the film. Do you like this film? Do you not like the film? What are your thoughts on the film? But yes, thank you for watching.